Caleb Williams, Kyle Monanghai, and the Chicago Bears head to Lambeau Field to take on Jordan Love, Micah Parsons, and the Green Bay Packers, the greatest rivalry in the National Football League. These two teams are obviously the two most storied franchises in the history of the NFL. When they get together, it's special. When they get together in December, it's even better. We've got teams that are playing for the number one seed in the NFC at this stage. The loss of the LA Rams to the Carolina Panthers opened the door for both of these two teams to now vie for positioning, not just for the division, not just the NFC North, but for the entire conference to try and get a first round bye. Chicago, they had a statement win against the Philadelphia Eagles. They got over that hump, so to say, created by the media, by pundits saying that this team is not for real. Well, guess what? They beat the defending champs 24-15. The Green Bay Packers, after an incredibly disappointing loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, they responded with a win against New York in a sloppy fashion, still a win. Then beat Minnesota emphatically 23-6, and then beat the Detroit Lions on the road in front of everybody on Thanksgiving, 31-24. Talk about a way to bounce back. This game has as large of implications as I would probably say the game in 2013. The winner of that one went to the NFL playoffs and won the NFC North. And the loser of that game, well, they watched the other team play the first round of the playoffs. Before that, 2010, the NFC Championship game. In 2010, the last game of the regular season, it was Green Bay, Chicago. Green Bay needed a win to get in the playoffs. The rest is history. They went on the road 3 times and beat Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl. 2013, 4th and 8. I was there for that game. Right in front of me, Aaron Rodgers rolling to his left to deliver that ball down the field. There's been so many moments in this rivalry that have broken the hearts of Chicago Bears fans. I think at this day and age, the game means so much to Chicago going into this year that they're the number one seed. They've got it at stake. They're trying to hold on to that spot, that positioning in the conference. They haven't been the number one seed in December since 2006. I know that's incredibly hard to believe, but it's also somewhat easier to sort of remember that this team hasn't won a playoff game since 2010. They are a proud organization, and this is the best running game I frankly believe they've had in 40 years since they won the Super Bowl in 1985. This matchup, we're going to talk about it for close to an hour because it is just that good. So many storylines to get into, breaking down the history of this matchup, as well as, of course, breaking down X's and O's and going into the schematics of what we will be seeing. Let's start with a little bit of schematics, shall we? But in order to do that, we have to break down the availability of players to run said schematics. Now, Halfley for Green Bay, he's going to try and make up for the loss of DeVonte, Wyatt. I don't know if there's been that many teams more impacted by injuries for Green Bay. I can say that the Chicago Bears are somebody that'll be like, yeah, we're going to raise our hand on that one. We've been pretty impacted by injuries this season. I think it speaks to the quality of these two teams, how they've fared and how they've played despite the injuries that have riddled their roster. So starting with the Green Bay Packers, DeVonte Wyatt. I don't know if there's a more underrated interior defensive lineman in the National Football League than DeVonte Wyatt. Losing him, you're having to combat that by trying to bring in depth. I mean, we look at Wyatt compared to the other defensive tackles on the roster after you lost Kenny Clark in the Micah Parsons trade. He's got double the amount of sacks compared to the other defensive tackles that are on the roster. With Wyatt on the field, Green Bay is allowing 4.68 passing yards per passing play, and it's 5.39 when he's off the field. That's close to another yard without him. We're looking at the difference between him on the field. I really think that you're going to feel it in this game. It's obviously not just his ability to get after the quarterback, it's the run game. What have the Chicago Bears done well? They're running the football as well as any other team in the National Football League. It is them and the Buffalo Bills at the very top of the NFL in the ability to run the football. They did it in a manner against the Philadelphia Eagles that you almost started feeling sorry for Philadelphia. It's like they know it's coming. They know Chicago's going to run, and they just could not stop it. It was incredible watching that game. I can't remember a bigger win for the organization in Chicago than that one recently. There's talk about 2018, the win at home against LA, but if you think about it, Mitchell Trubisky threw 3 picks in that game, and Bears fans are looking over their left shoulder every single time they won a game and looking at Patrick Mahomes and his stat line. They're not looking over their shoulder this year. Caleb Williams wins games. They're not looking for Jaden Daniels or J.J. McCarthy or Penix. Bo Nix, Drake May are having their success in the AFC. Caleb Williams' completion percentage has not been there this year. And frankly, why has it needed to be? First year under Ben Johnson, he's going to continue to improve. This run game, top 2 in the National Football League. Why does Caleb Williams need to be perfect in order to win? I think that frankly makes Chicago incredibly scary. The fact that they've played this type of offense to be 8th in the NFL in scoring, 6th in the league in yards a game, 6th in time of possession, and Caleb Williams has a completion percentage in the 50s right now. Now, for Green Bay to stop that run game, what does it look like? Well, let's be honest here. The Green Bay Packers have a top 5 defense in the NFL. This is a defense that is multiple. They are athletic, and they get after you because they believe that their defensive backs are good enough to go and run with anyone downfield. They bring everybody up. I remember at least a dozen snaps. We're watching that Detroit and that Green Bay game on Thanksgiving. You can see all 11 defenders on the picture. It's not like college where you're watching a Big Ten championship game this upcoming weekend, Ohio State, Indiana, where you're going to see every 22 player because it's a wide angle. It's a close angle the way that the NFL does their broadcasts. And you can see all 11 defenders within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. We're talking about 1st and 10 here. That's how aggressive Green Bay is. What allows their DBs to be that aggressive, to be that close to the football and take away the underneath stuff, and to have hats in the box to impact the run game? Well, it goes along with the strength of their defensive line. It's Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons. You could say that's the best edge duo in the league, or you could say the Texans, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, whichever one you want. I'm fine. I'll hear arguments for either. I'll accept either of them. They're both incredible. Those are the top 2 in the league. Verse and Byron Young are also great. There's a lot of really good duos in the NFL. Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons are as good as anybody. But again, losing a guy that can plug in the middle of that thing, and Wyatt's believe that that's going to get a lot of national attention. It already has. Tom Brady's going to talk a lot about it on this broadcast in America's Game of the Week. This is America's Game of the Year for the NFL. The winner maintains positioning in the division. They'll be the number 1 team in the North, and they'll be right there for the 1 seed. The Bears control their destiny to be the number 1 seed and get a first-round bye in the playoffs if they were just to win their next 5 because of that win over the Eagles now and the Rams with that loss. It's incredible to say that. The Green Bay, Quay Walker wasn't available for them on that Thursday game against the Detroit Lions. That's very important for this team. Not having a rangy Georgia Bulldog that is able to fly around the field and make tackles. He's been a tackle machine this season, and because of the neck, it wasn't there. Is he on the field against the Bears? Lucas Van Ness, his availability. When he's on the field, it's quite important. Think about now how important Micah Parsons is just for the viability to make the postseason. Without Micah Parsons, Lucas Van Ness was supposed to take the jump this year, and he's been injured a lot. He hasn't stayed healthy. Thank goodness you've got Micah Parsons to fill into that role. Otherwise, you'd not have Wyatt and Lucas Van Ness. This defensive line would probably not be a top 16 unit. With Micah, though, on the field, it's a top 5 unit. There's just no doubt about it. You've got one of the best defensive players in the league, in the history of the NFL, there's been nobody that's had 12 sacks or more in each of their first 5 seasons. We're talking about something historical. Not even Lawrence Taylor, the greatest defensive player in everyone's opinion of all time. A guy that Bill Belichick, when asked about anybody else besides Lawrence, he basically just laughs when anyone tries to compare someone to him. Micah Parsons has the better start to his career than even LT. It's pretty incredible. Now, we'll go back a little bit more to the rushing attack and Chicago's offense against that defense now. But I got to stay on the injury tone here because these teams have been hit hard by it. They fought through. Everybody in the league has injuries. That's why the first round bye is so pivotal, that you can rest. You can have those 2 weeks off to not have to play. If you are able to seal it by week 17, don't have to play week 18. Like Kansas City last year, they had like a month off, clinching that by like week 16, 17 for them. That's why these types of games are huge, to get games at home. We know that injuries are huge and weather is impactful. This game, the forecast is about 17 degrees. Wind chill at about 7 or 8 degrees. We're talking about cold. Both of these teams, they're ready for it. If you threw the Los Angeles Rams up to Soldier Field or to Lambeau or the San Francisco 49ers, it's a different story now. I know San Francisco had that win against the number 1 seed Packers a couple years ago with Robbie Gould field goal, but Brock Purdy and his arm and the injuries to that team, you would feel very confident about Green Bay to beat them if they went to Lambeau in the postseason again in a really cold game. So Green Bay and their offense against Chicago, well, their offensive line has not been healthy. Chicago's defense in that secondary hadn't been healthy until this past week against Philadelphia. They got Jaylon Johnson back. They got Kyler Gordon back. They wound up losing Tyreek Stevenson, but with Jaylon back, being able to solo up one-on-one with DeVonte Smith or A.J. Brown for half of the game, whoever was on that side of the field, and then Kyler Gordon roaming around, and then C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's been one of the more impactful additions for any team this season. It's turned into a truly dangerous secondary. When they get Tyreek Stevenson back, they're just going to have a Thanksgiving heaping of defensive backs available and ready to utilize already with Gardner-Johnson, and the ability to take the football away from Nashon. Wright leads the NFL in takeaways. He's got 5 picks, 3 forced fumbles this season. Jaquan Brisker back there in the back end. This is a Chicago defense that is starting to come alive now and holding the Steelers to only 7 points in that second half, holding the Minnesota Vikings. That was a poor performance of Minnesota in that game. And then this past week against Philadelphia, they are gaining stride and starting to play better. And all starts up front with Grady Jarrett, Montez Sweat, Austin Booker on the defensive line to stop that Green Bay rushing attack. It's going to come down to the right arm of Jordan Love, but it would certainly help Green Bay if it's not on 3rd and 9. It's 3rd and 1 or 2. They're able to run the football up the middle once or twice to pick up and move the sticks, control time of possession, wear on the Chicago defense, and not have their defense be the ones worn out. Washington, Philadelphia just get worn into a nub in that game. It was a little bit shocking in a pleasant way for me watching that game and seeing Chicago just match up extremely well and almost just be the ones delivering the haymakers. And watching Green Bay beat Detroit like that on Thanksgiving, my goodness, I could almost feel the narrative storyline starting to write themselves for this game. Could not be more excited. I'm more excited about this game than any other game on the NFL schedule so far this season. The rematch in 2 weeks, that's going to be popcorn on December 20th, the same day as the first round of the college football playoff. That might be one of the great football days in history. But Green Bay's run game, Josh Jacobs hasn't been fully healthy. The offensive line hasn't the whole year. When do they get Jaden Reed back? Is Matthew Golden going to be a factor in this offense? He hasn't been healthy. He didn't play against Detroit on Thanksgiving. So there are tons of questions on both sides of the ball for the Packers. And despite all of that, Jordan Love has one of the games of his NFL career against the Detroit Lions. In front of everybody, in front of everyone. Detroit's favor doesn't matter. Green Bay blew him out in the first game. They beat him by 7. Jordan Love throws 4 touchdown passes. Clearly, the media, not just the media, the national audience still has a lot of faith in Green Bay to win this game. And I think that there's a major issue at times to just solely look at history, specifically looking at the history of this matchup. Right, Chicago had been beat 11 times in a row before they beat Green Bay in January of 2025, right, this year. Jordan Love got hurt. Christian Watson got hurt in that game. Very tough way for the Packers to end their season. Chicago won. The game, though, that was at Soldier Field, and I was there in, what was that, November 20th, something like that, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, came down to a field goal just as well. Those games were evenly fought. You can't say one team was better than the other in either of those games. They were perfectly even. So for the Green Bay Packers to be 6.5-point favorites as of the recording of this video, it's a wide margin. Divisional matchups are different now. They have a different feel. The Chicago Bears interior, their offensive line, the interior of their defense isn't quite as strong. That's where I see Green Bay having an advantage. It's dangerous for Chicago, what they can do as an offense. We'll get to that in a second here, but let's stay with the Bears defense and how that they fare against Green Bay. This matchup reminds me a lot of 2010, where there's going to be an identity for this Bears team as a defense coming together at the end with Julius Peppers, Brian Urlacher there in the middle of that defense, and the defensive backs, Charles Tillman, Tim Jen. I mean, they had a good defense that was able to stack up, and it was lower scoring. I think this is a lower scoring game. The weather has had impacts on games already this season, and we're going to see it on Sunday. Cold weather is the team that can run the football better and put their quarterback in positions to succeed. For Green Bay, against Detroit, in both of those games, they punched them in the mouth and hard. Early in both of those games, they took advantage. Against Detroit, week 1, they got up 10-0 just like that. Against the Lions in Thanksgiving, they got up 10-0 just like that. Chicago got down 7-0 against Green Bay last year. It was, I think it was 10-7 at the half. There was a long drive there. Chicago punched it in. They got up in that game. Last year, we're up by, I think, like 8 points in the fourth quarter. The team that starts fast has a great shot to win this one. Now, there's, of course, examples where that hasn't worked out. I want to say in 2012, might have been the Bears were like 8-5, and they got up 7-0 on a Brandon Marshall touchdown. Green Bay wound up winning that game comfortably. Or 2013, the next year, a Matt Forte touchdown starts the game off. Green Bay, obviously with the 4th and 8 play, winds up winning that game 33-28. There's examples you look at. 20-0. Chicago's up in 2018, and they're not able to close that game out. Rodgers comes back and has the fourth quarter, the massive margin for a comeback that actually wound up costing the Chicago Bears a first-round bye. They would have finished 13-3. They get a bye over the Rams because of the head-to-head tiebreaker that wound up costing the Bears kind of their entire season. They would have gotten a bye and had the Rams again at home. Instead, they host the Eagles, and we all know how that wound up. Green Bay Packer fans can almost take that as a game that they had a major factor on for a very dangerous team in 2018. Last year, the Chicago win against the Packers, that impacted what they were heading into the postseason, and that just was not a team that looked confident in the first round of the playoffs. So the start of this game is really key. Do I think either team can be okay playing from behind? Sure, but there's one team that I believe that is going to struggle a lot more if they do fall behind, which is Chicago. Green Bay and Jordan Love in this offense, they got to try and attack the Bears secondary and throw the football to have success. I think that they aren't going to fare incredibly if they're, let's say, down 17-7 in the second quarter. They got to come back, or if they're down 20-13 late stages third quarter of this game, they got to throw the football to get some momentum. Chicago, in that balance though, and the weather being a factor, if they're down in this game, they got to rely on Caleb Williams to move the ball down the field. You're going to have less confidence, right? He's been in the league a lot less. This is Jordan Love's fifth year, third year as the starter. Caleb Williams, younger quarterback, and what it's looked like this year, he's been clutching the big moments. What you want to see from him is show that ability throughout an entire four quarters, to play great football through four quarters. So it would be a massive advantage for either of these teams to have that lead, whether it's by 1 point like the Bears were up 10-9 entering that fourth quarter. It felt like it was more than that. 4th and 5, hits Colston Loveland, hits Cole Kmet when they're up 8, puts them up 15 points. Game's just about over. For Green Bay, their 4th down, for Wicks to that touchdown, putting them up early in that game. There's certain moments from these games that you remember, from whether it be quarterback throws in key spots. It's funny how we a lot of times don't remember big runs. It's pretty rare that you remember, that was just a great run. Like fourth and 1, picked up that first down. What a great run. I can't remember, frankly, like a huge run in the history of this game. I mean, I'm 24 years old, and I truly, I mean, maybe like I think BJ Raji's pick 6 in the NFC Championship game, or Aaron had a rollout in that one. That probably comes to mind. It's tough to sort of remember big runs in this matchup. It's been quarterbacks. 4th and goal, Thanksgiving night, and Aaron, it's incomplete, and they lose on Brett Favre's celebration night to Chicago. That's a moment you think about. There's not big runs that you fully remember. I think that kind of changes. I believe that, and where this rivalry is headed, and where the NFL and modern era is headed, is going to be different than where this rivalry is headed. It will be quarterback based, and we'll remember Caleb Williams and Jordan Love and these guys. Maybe they go at each other and they wind up playing 20, 25 times. We'd love nothing more for than this to be a great rivalry for the next 5, 10, 12 years. But I do think physicality is an element that's been overlooked in this one. It's something Chicago would have loved to be able to mitigate the impact of Aaron Rodgers, to keep the football away from him with a stronger ground game throughout those seasons. Something like 2006 with Thomas Jones and Cedric Benson. With Chicago running the football, you can keep the ball away from Jordan Love. I've got more faith in the Bears to run the football than I do in the Green Bay Packers. It's a rare time to be able to say that. Certainly haven't been able to say that probably since 2019, like entering a game. Entering a game in this series within the last half decade, you can't recall a game. You do with this one, with the interior of this O-line. And the mobile ability of Caleb in key spots, man, does he turn that corner. He's been marked over 20 miles an hour 4 times this season. That's as many as guys like, I think, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane. It's a part of his game that's a weapon, and he does it in critical moments. He's not taking shots like Jackson Dart in big spots, and he's using it as a weapon to be smart. In the same way that Jordan Love, he's not taking unnecessary shots most of the time. The one shot he did take unnecessarily against New York, he has to leave the field for a couple minutes. This game's about the tougher team now. For a lot of years, it was talent at wide receiver. Green Bay had it. They had Greg Jennings. They had Donald Driver. They were able to attack with Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson. Chicago had Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey for a bit there. Allen Robinson was good for a year or two. Johnny Knox, Hester and his explosiveness, but those weren't anywhere near the core that this Chicago Bears team has now. Physical wideouts. All of them that can block. These two tight ends in Kmet and Colston Loveland. Green Bay, I hate to say it, but this core can't touch what Chicago has, especially not now. Matthew Golden, his injury, we don't even know if he's going to play in this game. Tucker Kraft, jeepers, I can't really think of a skill position player in the NFL, that's not a quarterback, that's going to be a larger loss for their team going down the stretch run of the season than Tucker Kraft. He was the number one target. Third down, Jordan Love is going to Tucker Kraft. Now, is it Dobbs? Is it Ontavian Wicks? Caleb Williams? Zacchaeus? Kmet? Loveland? DJ Moore? Burden? Odunze? It doesn't matter. One of these guys is going to get the football. I got 7 of them. Better yet, I'll just use my legs by myself and pick up the first down. This is the most multiple and the scariest offense Green Bay has faced. I'm going to say in the last 20 years. I know 2012, 2013, with Jay Cutler, those teams are dangerous. Jay Cutler turned the football over. It's something that he did. Did it a lot. Caleb Williams doesn't have a propensity to turn the football over. Who are you more scared of? Jay Cutler, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, Forte, Martellus Bennett, or this offense? I think you're gonna probably say this year if you're a Green Bay fan. The Green Bay Packers in this offense, without being fully healthy, there's still a confidence. Jordan Love has been that guy. I think he's a quiet MVP contender. With the injuries that they've had, I like me some Jordan Love now. He's doing with this group of wide receivers and finding a way to move the football. This Green Bay unit, I didn't trash them, but I just said they're not touching Chicago's unit. It doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered that Jordan Love the last several years. They've always had guys. Who thought Jordy Nelson would have turned into one of the best and most memorable fan favorite Green Bay Packers ever? Who would have thunk it? I can't think of many people that would have imagined what would have become of Jordy Nelson in his career. This is a Green Bay team that I believe for the first time in a while is going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder heading into this game. It's like Chicago, they're getting this national attention right now, and there's this hype around them now, and they're out of the closet, so to say, and they're fully out there in the open. This is what they got. And Green Bay's being overlooked. All the interviews are going to go to Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen, and Green Bay is the smaller market team. It's still in their building at Lambeau. Chicago's still got to go up north and play this game. There's going to be a little smirk on Matt LaFleur's face heading into this one. There's a little bit extra with Ben Johnson's comments, right, in his opening presser. He's enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur and the Packers the last couple of years. All right, Ben. Talk your stuff now. Get after it. But Green Bay, they're going to hit them. And I think they hit them hard at some point. There's going to be a surge, I want to say. There's going to be 2 possessions where Micah's going to take over. I would be terrified if I'm a Bears fan staring at Micah Parsons. This is a guy that can wreck a game himself. And not just that, it's because of Rashawn Gary on the other side next to him. The right side of the O-line, the interior, that's fine. Left tackle, who makes the start? Is it Ozzie Trapillo or is it Theo Benedict? I don't frankly know as of this stage. So that part in and of itself, that's a cause for major concern. Micah doesn't know this rivalry all that well. I don't think it's going to take all that long for him to introduce himself to Caleb Williams and to, essentially make his mark in this rivalry. There's been great defensive players in this rivalry throughout all time. Guys that have been Hall of Famers that make impacts, whether it be Julius Peppers in the middle of the defense, whether it be Clay Matthews for such a long time, or A.J. Hawk, Charles Woodson, right? Charles Tillman, Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs. The defensive names come out and shout out to you. Montez Sweat, Micah Parsons, these types of guys are starting to look, they want to put their imprint on a game like this one. There's always a few guys. Sam Shields, I want to say, had the interception that sent Green Bay to the Super Bowl in 2010. He might have also had the interception that beat the Bears on that Jay Cutler tried Hail Mary in 2013 after the 4th and 8 play. There's certain names that you remember. Khalil Mack in that first half against the Packers in 2018, or the game he had, I think 2.5 sacks against them that clinched the Chicago Bears' first playoff appearance in 8 years, their first division win in 8 years in 2018. There's defensive moments in each of these games, guys that just have a different level. Is it Keshawn? Is it Nixon? Is it Cooper? Is it Gary? Is it Nashon Wright? Is it Austin? There's going to be someone in this game, and that's what I'm so excited for, is which of those guys. Is it a known commodity? Is it a Kevin Byard that makes a play and you're like, Kevin Byard, that's just all he does? Or is it Micah Parsons? It's just Micah Parsons. We knew he was going to get a strip sack, fumble recovery to set up a Green Bay touchdown or to stifle a drive in the red zone. Bears looking to go up 10. Micah Parsons picks up that football, gives Green Bay the football, and they go on a drive. Instead of going down 10, now they're up 4. Bam! Full swing of momentum. Or Jaylon Johnson undercuts a ball to the outside from Love, doesn't set his feet, and he takes one to the house. And there's different moments, and I feel like one of those is coming in this game that will shift the tide. And if I'm being fully honest with you, for the first time ever in this series, when we look at these quarterbacks, there's a quarterback for Chicago that has historically had less interceptions. A guy that will turn the football over less than the other quarterback that he is facing. Look, this year, the statistics are right about in line. Jordan Love and Caleb Williams both really just haven't turned the football over all that much. Jordan Love, he's got 3 picks. I believe Caleb's got 5 on the season overall. But these are the games that matter. Jordan Love's been sacked 17 times this season. Caleb Williams has been sacked 19 times. What does that mean? Well, we've had, 12 games played? It's less than 2 sacks a game. It's good offensive line play. These quarterbacks are getting protected. At what point does one of these quarterbacks try and make a play to go win the game himself? Which guy is more unselfish, that's willing to take the check down instead of throwing that ball into a gusting wind in Green Bay in the cold and doesn't get a full grip on it? It tries that out route to the field side from the near hash towards the sideline, right near the boundary, and tries that throw. Instead of just checking it down for a 4-yard gain, they try and make that hero ball throw. It's coming in this one. That's a part of me where I've got confidence. Caleb Williams has a bit of the better arm than Jordan Love. There's a reason he was taken first overall, and Jordan Love towards the back end of that first round out of Utah State. Caleb is the overall better prospect. He's got that arm, a little bit more athletic, more mobile. That physical lower half that he possesses, I've got a bit more faith in his arm in this game, and frankly, his wide receiving core to deliver than Green Bay. Now, do I trust the Packers defense more than Chicago's? It's not even remotely close. Absolutely, I do. This unit's been top 5 all year. We think the Bears will be continuing on a trajectory that's better. There's no TJ Edwards, most likely still. There's no Tremaine Edwards. They're without their linebackers, and the Philadelphia Eagles didn't exploit that. I guarantee you Matt LaFleur is looking at, all right, there's some misdirection in this game. We are going to make this game plan so similar to Pittsburgh in throwing 90% of our passes within the first 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. Why attack Nashon Wright? The guy's got length out there. Why go after Jaylon Johnson or Byard in the back end? Let's keep it underneath. Longer possessions. I'll come out of this game and have 5 possessions over 5 minutes. Control the clock. Have it for 35 to 25. Run 72 plays to 54 plays. Right? Control the game. I think that's where Green Bay has success. That they come out with a plan that is underneath, that forces these backup backers, right, for Chicago to come up and tackle, to make plays in coverage, to cover Josh Jacobs, Dobbs, Wicks in the middle of the field, Christian Watson. There's a complete blueprint now that I believe Pittsburgh sets in their game. Don't watch the Minnesota game. Don't watch what Philadelphia and what they were doing. Look at Pittsburgh and how many screens they ran, how many underneath passes they had within the first 10 yards. They had 0 success throwing the football more than 10 yards down the field. Why force the ball down if you're Love? Take your shots. Remember last year, the play over the middle of the field, I think Christian Watson for like a 60-yard gain that wound up setting up Green Bay's game-winning touchdown. I didn't get the 2-point conversion, but it will come. Chicago will be forced to bring up Byard, Briskard from the back end, and then when you get single high, you get those safeties biting down underneath, then Christian Watson is open over the top for the deep ball. You have to be patient. The Bears and Dennis Allen are going to be baiting you. They're going to be baiting you into tight window throws. It's going to be a matter of patience for Matt LaFleur. It's about respecting your opponents. This is where it gets interesting. Respect for your opponent. It's an interesting concept, right? I don't think either of these teams have a disrespect for their opponent. I think Green Bay respects the Bears in that franchise. But there's a bit of a cockiness for sure going into this one. And the Chicago Bears, there's a bit of confidence, cockiness from what they did to Philadelphia that says they can go in there to Lambeau and still an incredibly tough place to play. And a quarterback in Jordan Love that's got 19 touchdowns, 3 picks on the season. And Matt LaFleur, all he's done is win the games. Oh, he's 11-1 against Chicago. My question, though, is which quarterback is going to feel the more need to press? Is it Caleb? They're both coached very well. Now, Jordan Love with Matt LaFleur, Caleb with Ben Johnson. I don't know if you're going to see a game with more crafty offensive coordinator play throughout the rest of this season if it's not, 2 weeks later, 13 days later on that Saturday, December 20th. I've got in an 8 cents that this game will be tight in the fourth quarter. And which team this season has played better in the tight matchups? It's been Chicago. The loss to Cleveland late in that game, making mistakes against the Dallas Cowboys that wound up in a tie for the Packers, almost leaving Arlington with a loss against Carolina, and that sloppiness. You haven't really seen the offensive performance this season from Chicago that's just like, where did that come from? Now, you look back to 19 points only scored against Minnesota a few weeks ago. They had the ball on Minnesota's side of the field on that 50, I believe, 6 times in that game. They just didn't score touchdowns. They were kicking field goals. But you look at what this team has played, they've been getting closer to that complete game. You look at the Baltimore Ravens game. I mean, that's almost 2 months ago now. It was the last time that they had a bad day offensively, and that's the same story. Not executing early in the red zone. They kicked 2 field goals in the first quarter. And it was 6-0. Bam. Huntley down the field. Chicago's down 7-6. Like, what? How are we down in this game? And they wound up losing it. But 47 against Cincy, 24 against New York, 19 Minnesota. We mentioned it, right? 4 field goals. 31 against Pittsburgh and 24 against Philadelphia on the road when the Green Bay Packers, how many points did they muster at home against Philadelphia? 7 points. They mustered 7 points against Philadelphia on the road. So I'm going to take the Chicago Bears to win this game because of a confidence in Ben Johnson, a confidence in Caleb Williams. There's enough Matt LaFleur big game football that we've seen now to look at the track record, right? The NFC Championship game against Tampa, right? Kicking the field goal instead of going for it down there by the goal line. The championship game against San Francisco, just not having the horses really to stop that San Francisco rushing attack. Who does that remind you a little bit of this year? The game against the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round should have beat that team. San Francisco should have beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The wild card round last year against Philadelphia. There's some losses now. I think that those are those are the 4. There's been San Francisco also in the divisional round when they had the 1 seed in 2021. So that's their 5 losses in the postseason, I believe. Right? Is that all of them? I don't think I'm missing any or leaving any out. Let me know down below if I am. But we've seen these big games, and it's like, where is the gel? Where is the juice from Green Bay? I just mentioned it. The way that you attack Chicago is patience, playing that long game underneath, 3-yard run, 6-yard screen pass, 3rd and 1, 2-yard run, 4-yard run, 3-yard run, 3rd and 3, Jordan Love scramble. Like it's long possessions, drawing it out. Dennis Allen wants you to throw the ball over the top. He just does. I'm telling you. Over the top means an incompletion, less time off the clock. Or the pass is tipped and intercepted. Okay, it's completed down the field 35% of the time. All right. Sure, you win that 50-50 ball. Now we try and we get that takeaway. We've been the best in the league at. Chicago Bears are number 1 in the NFL in turnover differential. 17 interceptions. Plus 17 turnover differential on this season. Green Bay is plus 4. Right? They're good. Their turnover differential has been good. They're 10th. They're 13th. They're 13 still total, or that combination down below Chicago. I think that the Chicago Bears win this game by a matter of a field goal. I think like a 40-yard game-winning field goal. Tie game late, 20-20. Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams drives them down the length of the field like he did in January earlier this year to deliver a win. Look, I've been going both ways on this one. Frankly, thought I was going to go with the Green Bay Packers, but there's something about this 2025 Chicago Bears team. And who better of a team than to stamp out that hope? Bears fans are talking about a 2-letter word that rhymes with duper and ends with lol, right? They're using a 2-letter word right now. They're talking about the 1 seed, and they can. They're the 1 seed in the NFC. Why not talk about it? That talk stops if they lose to the Packers. It's that simple. It's like Ohio State wins the game. What's in their way now from winning a national championship back-to-back? Chicago Bears beat Green Bay on the road. What's in their way from doing everything that this team has been waiting to set out to do for the last 40 years? Nothing, honestly. Toughest game on their schedule is probably this one. You thought it was Philadelphia. This one's probably got a bit more emotion involved with it. But with Ben Johnson now, it's not about emotion fully. It's not about even energy. It's about identity. And that's smart. And that's about physicality, right? It's about on schedule and making the right read. It's about playing within this offense, trusting the defense in key moments. They might give up yards. They might give up points, but you can get the stops when necessary. Nashon Wright will be there for a pick, or Byard, or Sweat will get to the quarterback and force a fumble, or Jaylon Johnson will peanut punch the football out. Somebody will make a play when needed. For Green Bay, my advice, beat the Bears by 17 points. Come out, be methodical. First possession, go 7 minutes and get 7 on the board. Get a 3 and outs, right? Cover the Chicago Bear wide receivers. Playing aggressive. When has the Bears, besides that, played a Cole Kmet, but deep shots down the field? That's not this offense. The explosives are there, right? It's catch and run. But 30-yard throws, that's not a play that's been there in this offense. They're right there, top 2-3 in the league in explosive plays. One of the best in the league at that. In explosive runs, no doubt. In passes over 20 or more yards. But the deep ball isn't a part of this offense. So I really believe it's aggressive. Make Caleb Williams beat you. Do not let Chicago run the football for over 150 yards. If they run for over 150, the Bears will win. They will. Caleb's too smart to have those mistakes. He's too good with his legs to be able to pick up first downs now, to score in the red zone when it's necessary, to be able to be the athlete that he is in these games now where it's December. So there's no reason to not give everything that you have. And remember, it's athlete against athlete. Is Quay Walker available? There's no DeVonte. Wyatt. Chicago is getting healthy. Green Bay is going the other direction. You're hoping you get Golden back or Walker, but then you lose DeVonte Wyatt. I mean, that's such a massive loss. I can't overlook that loss, especially in this game. They're going to try and figure out an identity. This game is going to be close. It's going to be played tight. This is, again, I talked about one of the games of the season. That path to victory for the Packers is, I think, going at Nashon Wright. Not Jaylon Johnson. Stay away from Jaylon Johnson. Your one-on-ones in Nashon Wright, going right at him. For the ground game, it's misdirection. Running on Gervon Dexter and Grady Jarrett in the middle. Andrew Billings. It's very tough, hard yards in the middle there, but you have to do it. The underneath, it's stretching the field. I think if this game were played in college, I'd almost pick the Green Bay Packers with the wide hashes because that favors Green Bay in lateral and forcing the Bears to come up, rally, and tackle and rely on that speed that Green Bay has with these wide receivers that are a little bit smaller, like Dobbs, like Wicks. That's something with the college game with the wider hash marks that allows for more points, putting athletes in space. The Bears defense isn't built on speed, right? They've got these edge players in Booker and Sweat that are great athletes, that they are able to run with any quarterback. In the secondary, you got hitters, CJ, Kyler, Nashon, but none of them are the burners that can really run with Green Bay's wide receivers consistently throughout the day if all that stuff is underneath. I don't believe that Green Bay, though, has the patience to be able to continue drive after drive. Does Matt LaFleur have what it takes? He no doubt does. Do I think he will in this particular game? I do not. I want to hear from you down below in the comments. I am fired up about this game. I was fired up to preview and predict Ohio State, Michigan. The Iron Bowl last week. I did a breakdown of Indiana versus the Buckeyes in the Big Ten championship game. Alabama versus Georgia for the SEC title game. If you like college football, check those games out. But this game, it's a little bit different with this rivalry in the NFL. NFC North on the line coming up here now. The first round bye. It's a different level. There hasn't been a matchup in the last 20 years where Bears-Packers was first round bye on the line here. There's been a lot of matchups where neither of the teams were all that good, and they were often not the highest quality of play. It gets messy and there's turnovers. It's sloppy weather, so there's the poor play. I think we see some pretty high quality football in this one, and then it comes down to a tight game. Chicago's got those 5 fourth quarter wins down in the 1 score, and I think they get it done here in this one at Lambeau. So I appreciate you so much for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe for more Blitz of Blender content. My name is Josh Blender. I make NFL college videos weekly, getting everybody excited, set, ready, prepared for these matchups. This is one of the best of the season. You'll be able to come right back here to this channel to see the game previewed again in 2 weeks. We'll have more information, know the way this one went, what exactly will change going into the next style of that one, and what we'll be able to come up with here. But ultimately, I think that Chicago's run offense will travel, and their ability to take the football away, that will as well. So I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart for watching, and I will see everybody next time. Thank you.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blender. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Blender. To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa.